This is the brand new Lumix S9, which is a new generation of full-frame mirrorless camera that they have just released. With the launch of the new S9, they have launched some pretty incredible new innovative technology with this camera that actually makes shooting and sharing a lot easier. And honestly, it brings back a lot of the joy of shooting that I think the Fuji X100V series has captivated the world with. This has the potential to do that as well. What's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and in today's video, we're going to be talking all about the launch of the S9, what I love about this camera, and some things that maybe are less than ideal, but the biggest thing I want you guys to remember here is the price point, and that is $14.99 USD. And there's a lot packed into this camera for that price. Lumix flew me and a ton of other content creators out to Japan for the launch of the new S9. Now, I want to also preface this whole thing by saying they have not paid me for this. Yes, they have flown me to Japan and given me this camera, but they have not paid me to say anything. There is no contract in place. These are my opinions alone, and they don't get to see this video before it launches. So it's an unbiased opinion, but I do like the camera. And there's quite a few features in here that I really enjoy, and some that I didn't love as much, but we're gonna dive into all that right now. To start out, I mean, let's talk about the design, because it is actually a really good looking camera, and to pack into this a full frame sensor, like, let's go. That is actually so crazy cool. Again, remember the price point, that this is $1,500 and they packed a full frame camera into this. Essentially, the internals of this camera is the same sensor and very similar brain as the S5 II, so you're still getting a full frame readout at 6K open gate, which is crazy. You can also do the 4K 422 10-bit, so this very compact camera is punching way above its weight class. But when it comes to design, I think that's where there's like a few compromises, in that it's small, so that just means you get a few less buttons, and there's no viewfinder on the back of this camera. You just have this awesome tilt screen, which, let's not forget how valuable a tilt screen is. I know we're getting used to some of these features. The big new features that Lumix launched with this is its ability to shoot and share content incredibly quickly, which I've tested over the last week, and it actually works, and it's actually going to change the way that I create content for the internet. So that's a big plus. And one of the new innovations that they've made is a new MP4 Lite video file that you can shoot and share very quickly to their new app called the Lumix Lab. Now, if you haven't been following Lumix for a while, you may or may not know that they utilize what's called open gate. Where most cameras utilize a 16:9 form factor, Lumix allows you to shoot video with the full readout of the sensor. Now, this new MP4 Lite file size is 3.8K open gate file in MP4 Lite, 30 frames per second. Pretty great. And their intention with that, and their hope with that, is that you can shoot horizontal video while still utilizing a vertical frame inside of that same clip. When I was in Japan, I almost solely used this MP4 Lite, so all of the B-roll that you are seeing is essentially in this form factor already. This is a 30 frames per second readout. It can do 25 frames per second depending on where in the world you are and what kind of format you shoot in, but I find the 30 frames per second to be good, sufficient, and mostly because when you're shooting in this form factor, it's going to social media. I would love the option, though, if this could have also had a 24 frames per second option, but for now, this is a great start. If you're not shooting in this social media type format, you still have access to 6K, 4K, you have all kinds of incredible codecs, again, packed into this tiny body for $1,500. Now, the next innovative thing that Lumix has launched with this camera is the ability to create real-time LUTs and import them into your camera. They make it really easy to do if you have LUT files that you like from either yourself or from a creator you like, but you can very easily upload this to the Lumix Lab app and import them over to your camera, or add them onto the SD card, put them directly on your camera, and then you can very quickly be shooting in your favorite look on this camera. So between having real-time LUTs and looks, you can have up to 39 different looks in this camera that you can then put directly onto your footage and then export this directly to Lumix Lab, and you can be sharing your video content or photo content in like 30 seconds. They've put a dedicated LUT button on the back of the camera here, and I use this button all the time in Japan because I would shoot my initial clip in Vlog, and then while I was filming I would change over to some of my custom LUTs that I like to use personally, just so that if I wanted to share those clips right away, I didn't have to do any color grading. But if I took that Vlog clip and put it into the Lumix Lab, you can also add your LUTs or presets from the Lumix Lab as well. Real-time LUTs have been in their previous generation of the Lumix S9 II and S9 IIX, and I believe there are other series of cameras, and they're awesome to work with. I've never really added them to my other cameras, but now because of the convenience of this camera and almost kind of what this camera seems designed to do, which is to be a really quick social media sharing device, then for me adding those LUTs into this camera and being able to shoot my look and shoot it to my iPad or my iPhone to be able to share really quick, it's pretty powerful. They've also in the S9 added the ability to stack 2 LUTs and change the opacity of that LUT. So this way you can import some of your favorite LUTs and you can change the opacity of that LUT directly in camera. It's a really fun feature to use, honestly. If I'm out shooting and I want to create reels with my high quality camera on my gimbal, I can just turn on auto transfer, get my 10 to 15 second clips, and then be editing it in the next 2 minutes and posting that reel within 5 minutes. So that's a big win for me with the Lumix S9 and the Lumix Lab. And to me, that's who this camera is designed for. People that want to step up into probably a full frame camera that is incredibly powerful both for photo and for video. And their objective is to create social media style content. Also included in this camera, the incredible industry-leading image stabilization that Lumix has. They are without a doubt top of the line in what they do with image stabilization. So the fact that they've incorporated all of those already incredible features into this tiny compact camera that's only $1,500 US is insane. When it comes to lens options, this is a full frame readout lens. So if you're in the L-mount system, you can use all their full frame primes. You can use their kit lens, which this actually will ship with the kit lens, which is the 20-60. That lens actually slaps pretty hard for what it is. The other thing that Lumix has offered in this camera is essentially an artificial zoom. And with this artificial zoom and the electronic image stabilization, I was able to zoom all the way into this Osaka castle from my hotel room, which is quite a ways away. So it's actually a really fun feature that it's cropping into the sensor, of course, so the image quality isn't going to be as high. But if you're just posting stuff for fun, for social media, it's pretty crazy to have this option. Lastly, the battery. So we've got a battery here, and this is the same size as all the Lumix S9 II, S9 IIX, so it's very compatible. And shooting with this for a whole day, I found the battery life to be actually really good. I think I used 1.5 batteries shooting both video and photo all day. I used 1.5 batteries. If you are someone with bigger hands, there is no grip here, so it doesn't maybe necessarily feel perfect. But we were also provided with this small rig cage here, which goes on the front of this here, and it makes it a really perfect form factor, kind of giving you this little grip here, and that's just enough and makes this a really fun camera to walk around and do street photography with. All right, so let's get into some of the cons or the things that this camera doesn't have that might deter you, but it also just kind of showcases who this camera is meant for and who it's not meant for. So the first thing that I noticed when I picked up this camera is the recording limits. Because this is a smaller form factor camera, we don't have fans on this like you have on the S9 II or S9 IIX. So that means that there are record limits to prevent it from overheating. So if you're shooting in 6K open gate, you're only going to have a 10-minute record limit. If you're shooting in the 3.8K open gate, you're only going to have a 15-minute record limit. And if you're shooting in FHD, I believe the record limit was 20 minutes as well. Now, as I mentioned when we were talking about the design, there is no electronic viewfinder. So again, all you have is the flip screen. So if you're someone that shoots like this and you like getting your eye up to the camera, just note, you won't be able to do that with this camera. I think once you get used to the fact that it's not there, you kind of just move on and you just use the screen, which I use 98% of the time. If I'm being honest, I use the screen because I'm getting to all kinds of crazy angles, and it's kind of very rare that I'm coming up to do this with it. Another thing to be aware of with the design is you have your microphone port on the corner here, but you do not have a headphone port, so you can't be reviewing your audio unless your device has a headphone jack kind of out of whatever microphone you're using or something like that. And then lastly, just a single SD card slot. So for professionals who are looking to back up their data on the fly, that's something you cannot do. The last little design feature is on the side here. You have a USB-C and a micro HDMI. So that's another design feature as well. I would also say that the buttons on the back, they're quite small, and I do wish I had a few more custom buttons, even on the front here or on the back here or up top. But again, this is the first version of a really cool new S9. And these are all just like little gripey things, because if you remember at the beginning, it's $1,500, guys. So this camera is packing a serious punch. So with all the pros and a few little cons, who do I think that this camera is for? I think that this camera is for someone who has either a smartphone and is creating social media content, maybe professionally, and is ready to step it up, or you're someone who has an APS-C size sensor and you're ready to step up into a full frame, or you're looking for your first camera. This is an incredible option to skip maybe those Sony APS-C cameras and just cut straight to the chase with a full frame Lumix camera that is packed with incredible video features, a great photo camera as well. I'd say this competes very well with the Sony a7 III. In fact, it slays the a7 III in video, but if you're looking for a photography camera as well, they're kind of similar in their specs and what they offer in megapixels. I know I'm actually going to be keeping this in my bag probably over the X100V, because the video features and the ability to put my own personalized LUTs and looks on this camera, being able to push them straight to my phone or tablet with like 0 time, that to me is absolutely huge. You can shoot and you can share, and you can neglect the whole editing part where you have to take the SD card out, put it in your camera, upload your LUT, export it from your whatever, then send it to your phone, then post it. Now, if you put in the work on the front end, you can just shoot and share. It's absolutely incredible, and actually a really powerful and innovative new tool for content creators like myself. Well done, Lumix, for innovating again and just continuing to stay on the forefront of that stuff. I think the Lumix Lab is a great touch. I love the design of this camera. I love how it looks. I love how it feels shooting with it. Again, it's just brought back the joy of content creation again, just taking away any of the limitations and things that make it difficult, like editing. Now, if you're someone who is investigating what camera you need to buy, the truth of the matter is, if you don't actually know how to use this camera, it doesn't matter if you get a APS-C or a full frame camera. If you don't know how to use that camera, you're never gonna get the most out of it. So I've built a course for you guys down below that is really essential for you guys to understand, maybe even before you buy a camera, or if you already have a camera and you're not shooting in manual mode and don't fully understand how to use it. That's what that course is for. It's for you guys to get the most out of your cameras, to bring all your creative ideas to life. If you're gonna spend $1,500 on this, spend a little bit of money over there to actually learn how to use that thing. So I've linked that for you guys down below. Use the code EARLYBIRD30. The first 50 people to use that code will get 30% off. But I'd love it if you guys would go check out that course in your investigation on which camera is right for you. I think this course will help you really understand how to use it. Now, if you guys are looking at some presets or LUTs that you're wanting to use in your videos, I'll link mine down in the description below as well. You can go check those out on my website. As always, guys, I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching, and I do hope that I will see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. There will be more content coming with this camera on how I use it, how I'm enjoying using the LUTs and the presets and the Lumix Lab. Again, this is a great camera. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.